Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Mike Amos. Hope you're doing well this morning on a Wednesday. Thank goodness it's Wednesday, because in 2 days it'll be Friday. Of course, January the 29th, and nice weather is forecast today. In fact, yesterday it was just turned out to be a beautiful day, and hope you enjoyed it like I did. And of course, anytime you get out in the weather and you can walk through the woods and feel like you're fairly safe from predators. like I was yesterday, and I love to walk in the woods when I don't worry about snakes. And, I know a lot of you out there probably feel that same way. But it was a beautiful day yesterday afternoon, and it's going to be pretty today. And cold, a little cool last night. We'll find out exactly what the weather is right now. And, of course, I rode by this morning and noticed folks were running this morning, and they didn't look like they were freezing. But sometimes these guys at the Army ROTC group, it doesn't seem like it matters how cold it is. Troy University's football team was in the stadium this morning, and it seemed like the weather was bothering them. And I'm sure what the coaches say to him was that, hey, we want to see who's rough and tough. We want to say who's going to be willing to pay the price and get ready for the football season. Of course, they've done that at Troy for years, practicing on the off season at early morning. And I'm thinking that the players have a choice. They can work out in the morning or in the afternoon. And, the benefit of the morning is if you do get up and go out and work out at 6 o'clock, hey, you got the rest of the day to, after class, go back and get a few hours of sleep or a little rest, or you could say it's over with, which is nice to know, that you practice at 6 o'clock and you're through at 8 o'clock. You go to class and you got the whole afternoon off, and so it's got its good points and its bad points, and then of course the afternoon guys are the guys that might have the afternoon 10, 11, 12 o'clock classes so they can sleep in. So again, it's a benefit to all concerned, whichever way they want to go. We've got a lot to talk about. Of course, it's Super Bowl week, and everybody's getting ready for the big game in Miami on Monday, and we look forward to watching that one. And of course, that's against Kansas City and San Francisco. This one's sort of a tough one to pick because of something Mike Amos said yesterday. Was it seems like that San Francisco is sort of destined. They're just ready to make history. And, of course, they play real hard anyway, and they're young. So it's going to be an experienced Kansas City team with a great quarterback and real fast receivers against a San Francisco team that has just played well all year long, and Jimmy, their quarterback, DeLafio, or however you pronounce his name, has had a great year. And but what I like about it looks like they match up well, and they're going to. It's going to be a real good football game. 6 o'clock kickoff, I believe, is when it's going to be, and that will be on Sunday afternoon. Of course, all of the publicity leading up to it. You'll be almost tired of the all of that before the kickoff, and a lot of people would say that they're so that they just turn the TV off and wait till 6 o'clock and don't worry about all the pregame stuff. And of course, I read where there was a 30-second advertisement will cost you over $1 million, which is something that is hard to believe, but that's the way it works, so forth. Alabama travels to LSU in basketball tonight. That should be a good one. And it will be televised. LSU is 15-4. Alabama, who is playing very well right now, comes into the game with a 12-7 record and 4-2 in the SEC. Of course, LSU is undefeated in the SEC, boosting one of the best teams in the country. So that will be a good one to watch. Of course, baseball, can you believe this? AUM has already started baseball. They played Louisville yesterday, and I don't know if it's one that will count or not, but the Louisville had a real good team last year, and they're expecting big things out of them this year. Auburn has a second baseman named Ryan Bliss that is really a great player. He was 381, batted 381 in 66 games last year with 3 home runs and 37 RBIs. So it's going to be, I think, a great year for Auburn baseball. And of course, the SEC is full of real good baseball teams. I think it was voted preseason top conference in the country. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
At Marguerites, we've been designing and crafting custom jewelry for 4 generations. It's an art for master jewelers. There's really no room for error. It doesn't matter how big the diamond is. You don't expect anything less than perfection. What matters is quality, beauty, and value. After all these decades, your engagement ring is still our greatest pride. Marguerite's exquisite jewelry.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Know-how, Napa Know-How. Big discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down. And you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down. And payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan, the best pre-owned deal are at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
All week.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Jean's Flowers on South Brodies Street in Troy. They've been around a long time, and ladies and gentlemen, you need to order flowers or cards or gift packages. They do a wonderful job at Jean's Flowers, and we appreciate them very much. And of course, you know, anytime you want to just drop by and buy a flower or some roses, they've got fresh flowers every day at Jean's Flowers. I want to mention Piggly Wiggly and our good friend Steve and his staff there with his big store on North 39th Street and another big store in the on the bypass in Troy. I noticed that night they're really moving a lot of dirt, building that new shopping center. It's going to be, and evidently they've got some other pieces of property they're going to develop. So it's going to really add to Troy's business areas.
So that's going to be heading up the road towards Sisters up that way?
Yeah, that's right. Right next to, right across from the hospital.
So that's going to be where, TJ Maxx, Hobby Lobby, a couple other things are going to go?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. You and I heard...
TJ Maxx is a popular place. I'm sure anybody in our listening audience has probably been to one. You definitely can get great deals on really high-end brands at a huge discount.
Yeah.
It might have like a little flaw there, but
well,
it looks like you can't even find out what's wrong with it.
I haven't found any flaws, but the times I've been there.
But blue jeans there, they're like, usually like $75-$80 for like $10-$12. There's all kinds of stuff there.
That's what I like, and I've never liked to pay a regular price for anything, anything I buy, and I think that is one of the good things about the TJ Maxx. Some discount prices on name brand products, so I'm looking forward to it. You're right.
Yeah, I think the only thing in life I pay full price for is probably tickets to sporting events. That might be about it.
I don't know. A lot of times you don't pay full price.
I know. I'm talking about to some of the bigger events. I'll pay the money to go see something I really want to go see. But
what is the price of a Super Bowl ticket? Over $1,000, isn't it?
I would think so. I tell you, there's been a lot of Super Bowls in Troy, Alabama's Brian Meadows. I know he used to go to the Super Bowl every year. So Brian's probably been to at least 7 of them, I would think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll have to look that up. Former Alabama quarterback and head football coach Mike Shula just got a new job in the NFL. He'll be the quarterbacks coach of the Denver Broncos. So that means that he'll be coaching Drew Lock, the former Missouri quarterback. They ended up having a pretty good year when they announced him as a starter for the Broncos. So good for Mike Shula fans out there.
Well, yeah, and now he actually was with the Carolina, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was coordinator there for several years with Cam.
Yeah, and now
news and recruiting. Alabama signee Bryce Young is now the top player in the 2020 class. So all that will do is make Alabama's recruiting even stronger. He was voted by 24/7 Sports to be the number 1 recruit in the country.
Number 1 recruit in the country.
Campus at Alabama, so I didn't know you could keep on moving up in recruiting rankings, but I guess it's not all over with until February.
Yeah. Tell us, from what I gather, everybody thinks that he'll be the one right off the bat.
It's interesting. Of course, he played at one of the top not colleges, but high schools in California, but he's not a big guy. He's 5'11", 185 pounds, but if you watch his highlight films, he just throws just ball, perfect pass. Tremendous arm strength. Can really run. Just a total dual threat guy.
Who do you think he reminds most people of? The Seattle quarterback?
A lot of people say Russell Wilson.
Yeah. A real hard-nosed type kid, too.
He came back and beat Ole Miss last night, too. I was flipping through ESPN late, and they were losing, I think, by 7 with about 3 minutes left. So they beat Ole Miss on the road 83-82 in double overtime.
Oh, man. Well, that tells you that they've got a quality team. USA Today has Baylor number 1, then Gonzaga number 2, Kansas 3, San Diego State still undefeated number 4, and Louisville number 5 in the top 5. And of course,
Auburn was down by 17 at the half and came back and won the game. I had to kill Ole Miss wins.
Yeah, I bet it did. No question about it. In their brand new arena, it looks like a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is. I've seen pictures of it. I've never actually been in it, but I've seen it on television when they built it.
Of course, this is a halfway mark, wouldn't you say?
a huge
Yeah.
sellout. That'll be a tough ticket to get into.
Will Matthews claims that he's going to the game.
Yeah, he claims. I don't know. I guess
Well, Auburn, they'll pack it out, don't you think?
there's no doubt. I mean, that arena holds around 9,000, and that will definitely be a sellout.
If you drove over there, you reckon what you'd have to pay for a ticket? $500?
I don't know. You pay $500. I'm sure somebody'd come off one for about a couple $100.
You think so? And there might probably be some students that probably do that, don't you think?
I don't know about students, but there'll be some, older people with some money probably can do it.
Can you get excited about the Super Bowl? I'm just, it doesn't do much for me. I don't know. That's terrible. I'll watch it, but I'm not all excited. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I love the matchup. I mean, I think it's, great to have, kind of some different teams there. Of course, San Francisco's won plenty of Super Bowls, but I think they said Kansas City hadn't played in a Super Bowl since, 67?
Yeah, I think, I want to say it was the first Super Bowl they've actually played in, didn't they?
Maybe so.
First Super Bowl.
And then, of course, San Francisco's always had great teams, but it's been a long time since they've been in a Super Bowl.
Find out when that first Super Bowl was played. I want to say Kansas City played, I'm just guessing. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing that's who they played.
I'll have to look and see.
We'll find out more about that. Of course, with the full slate of basketball games, Troy goes to Georgia Southern and then plays Georgia on Thursday and then plays Georgia State on Saturday.
Tough road trip.
And, if I was footloose and
you're right. It was the January 15th, 1967. The Packers played the Chiefs.
Yeah. And, of course, that was with Bart Starr for the Packers and all those great. You can remember. Now, this is something.
The Packers were a 14-point favorite, and they won 35-10.
Yeah. Let me tell you this. Out of all of the football teams I've ever known, personally I've ever known in the pros, I never could remember any of the offensive linemen's names. But I can with this Green Bay team. That's how great their offensive line was. They had Forrest Gregg. That was one of the offensive linemen. Oh, boy. Now my mind's leaving me.
Curry, he played.
Curry was was one of the centers on that team.
Was he a center on the Packers or the Colts?
Well, he played on both of them. You know what? He played with the Colts and the Packers. I'm not sure he started with the Packers. I want to say that. Forrest Gregg was one. They had another one named Tatum. I want to say there was one named Tatum. I could be wrong, but most all of these Fuzzy Thurston. Have you ever heard of that name? He was a lineman, Fuzzy Thurston. We're talking about offensive linemen that you can remember off those teams. I could not name you hardly a single lineman for any other team anywhere. But these they were all well known, and I was listening to a show this past weekend, coming back, just riding back from the beach, and this guy called in and named every offensive lineman, and they were well known, Fuzzy Zoller, did I mention Zoller? Let's see. Who did I have then? I had
Forrest Gregg.
Forrest Gregg, and then
average Super Bowl ticket right now, even in the corners, are going for $4,600.
Even in the corners, $4,000, and people will get that for their ticket.
Well, that's on StubHub right now.
You know what? You think about that, that's quite an investment. If you knew how to buy tickets, you could make a bunch of money on big events, couldn't you?
Yeah, I'll tell you who also goes to a lot of Super Bowls is Phil Grice from Troy, a guy I grew up with. I know he gets tickets somehow and a lot of stuff.
Well, we ought to give him a ring and find out what he's got. But I would think that it'd be a fun time to be around Miami this time. To enjoy the partying and fun building up to the game and after the game. I didn't talk to anybody that went to New Orleans, but I'm sure that was a lot of fun down there. Don't you think? Mike Amos is a great beach this morning.
Packers 67 roster. Let's see. Let's see who some of these guys were.
All right.
One of the guards was Jerry Kramer.
Kramer. See, he was well known. Jerry Kramer. Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying to pull up the rest of it right here. Of course, they're coached by Vince Lombardi.
Yeah. But their offensive line was well known. And they were pulling guards. They ran the guards. I'm going to ask you a little trivia quick.
You had tight end Marv Fleming, left tackle Bob
Skorinsky, I don't remember him that well.
Gail Gillingham.
See, Gillingham was well known.
Center Ken Bowman.
I didn't know him.
And then you had right guard Jerry Kramer, right tackle Forrest Gregg.
Forrest Gregg, yeah. How about Fuzzy Zoller? He must have been a defensive player.
There was Willie Davis in defense, Ron Kelstelinki. I don't know how you sort of pronounce that name.
Yeah.
Henry Jordan, Lionel Aldridge.
Yeah.
Dave Robinson. I know this name. Ray Nitsky.
Yeah, Ray Nitsky was a great linebacker.
Yeah, Leroy Caffey.
Yeah.
Bob Jeter, Tom Brown.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the Fuzzy Zeller sounding like.
Of course, the great running backs were Jimmy Taylor, and the other one was Paul Horning. You remember Horning? Paul Horning and Jimmy Taylor? Taylor was a big, powerful back.
On the 67 teams, they said the starter was Elijah Pitts and Jim Grabowski.
The running backs were Elijah Pitts and Jim and Grabowski.
That's what they said.
Huh. Now, Taylor played at LSU, and Horning played quarterback at Notre Dame, but in the pros, he played running back.
Yeah.
And, of course, the starting quarterback was from Montgomery, Alabama. And
the guy you're talking about was on the team, Fuzzy Thurston.
Fuzzy Thurston, yeah.
He played college at Valparaiso.
Valparaiso, gosh.
And there's another Alabama guy on that team. I never heard this name, Steve Wright.
Yeah, Steve Wright played at Alabama. He's a Yankee from up around up north.
6'6", 250 pounds.
Yeah, that was big back then. 250 was big back then.
They don't have football now, but I guess they had football at Texas Arlington back then because they had a guy named Doug Hart.
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
Bart Starr, of course, was the great one from that won so many games from Montgomery. He and Albert Elmore from Troy played at Alabama at the same time under Ears Whitworth. And a lot of the times that during that period of time, Elmore would start before Bart Starr at Alabama. Then, of course, Starr got an opportunity to go in the pros. I don't even know if Elmore even went to the pros, but he was a great athlete. And but once he got in with Lombardi, and he wasn't a flashy quarterback, but he won the Super Bowl on the game that was noted for the frozen tundra. You remember that?
Yeah, the Ice Bowl.
The Ice Bowl, and he was able to run a quarterback sneak. And Leroy Jordan was the middle linebacker on the other side for the Cowboys, and he was too late to make the tackle, and Starr snuck it in there for the game-winning touchdown.
I was watching some more stuff and here's some more comments on the Kobe Bryant. Of course, Kobe Bryant, passed away in the helicopter crash. And I didn't realize that when he first went to the Lakers, he was only 17, so he lived with Jerry West.
Did he?
Yeah, of course,
Jerry West was a player back then, though, wasn't he, or was he?
No, Jerry West has been retired for years.
Okay.
Jerry West was the general manager of the Lakers. And, you know, he was just mentioning how it was the saddest day of his life, and, you know, he treated him like a son. And, you know, you hear all these stories. It's just amazing. Of course, you know, Kobe did run into some stuff off the court, you know, in Colorado and all that. But, you know, it seems like he was really, really, you know, a great father to his 4 little girls. And the basketball team his daughter actually played for, the travel team, was called Team Mamba. And that was his nickname was the Black Mamba, which is like the world's deadliest snake.
Oh, really? Is that what they call him?
Yeah, but, you know, it's just kind of, you're hearing more and more tributes come up and stuff like that. But, you know, I never knew that he lived with Jerry West the first couple of years he was in the NBA.
Let me tell you a good trivia question. You know, the NBA logo, if you've seen it, you know, the logo, you know, all the time, you know, with the basketball player dribbling the basketball, you know,
that's Jerry West.
That's Jerry West. That's Jerry West. And that was sort of a trivia question for a lot of people. And
West played with Baylor, didn't he?
Baylor? He played with Elgin Baylor and later on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And Elgin Baylor was a great player, you're right. But Jerry West was a great shooter, you know, and he was a great player. And probably would go down, I don't know if he'd be in the top 10, but he'd be in the top 20 players to ever play the game, probably. Of course, you know, Jerry West played at what school, Mike?
Played at West Virginia.
Played at West Virginia. Back when West Virginia was pretty good, too, you know, and of course...
West Virginia has always had a pretty good basketball program. You know, Huggins played there. You know, that's the reason he wanted to go back and be the head coach.
Yeah. And, you know, they had a guy named Rod Thorn that was a great player, too, for them over the years. And then they had a guard who...
Did they have Hot Rod?
That's right. I was going to say Hot Rod Hundley was the guard on those teams. And what was he known for?
He became an announcer.
That's right. He was a great NBA sports announcer, Hot Rod Hundley. And, well, let me tell you, there were some great players back then. One of them was the Big O, and you know who that was, don't you?
Yeah, Oscar Robinson.
Oscar Robinson, considered one of at least the top 10 players of all time. And then Cincinnati and Ohio State were huge rivals back then. You know, of course, they were both from the same state, and they played each other. Tell me who the great player was for Ohio State.
What, back in the day?
Yeah, back in the day. They went up against...
Is that where Havlicek played?
Well, Havlicek played, but he played later on. He played for Ohio State, but he played a little bit later on. Jerry Lucas was a great player. And Bobby Knight also played on those Ohio State teams.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's pick up a call coming in, Mike. I'll put you on hold. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Mike, this is Max. How you this morning?
Max Howell calling in. Let me bring Mike in here too, Max, and we'll be ready to go. All right, got you on hold now, and we'll go here and here and here and here. There we go. Got both of you. Good morning, Max Howell calling in from Fulton, Mississippi. Is it cold up there this morning, Max?
Not too bad. Let's see. 45.
45 degrees. I need to find out how cold it is in Troy. I usually can go to my telephone and figure that out. Of course, now you're further north. Now if you drove straight across Mississippi, would you end up in
north of Birmingham?
I was going to say north of Birmingham in the Florence area or Coleman or where?
Not quite. Yeah, not quite the Florence, but like around Coleman.
Yeah, exactly. How did you get up there? You married up there, didn't you? Is that how you got up there, or what?
Well, you know, I was at Ole Miss, and then you know, I jumped in the radio business and bounced around. I ended up in my radio career in Tupelo.
Yeah.
And I had some folks that really I'd gotten to know in the marketplace, and they sold my show out. And the people here, Mike, are just like they are in South Alabama.
Yeah.
I live in a rural county. And I live outside Tupelo in a rural county. And it's only about 29,000 people in the whole county, 4,000 in Fulton, Mississippi, and that's just like old home in Prattville when I lived there.
There's a junior college there, isn't it?
Yeah, Etowah Community College.
Boy, they have produced a lot of great players. That's where Troy, I want to say, that's where Troy got the great Kelvin Simmons. Max, why didn't you get Kelvin Simmons? I mean, when Troy got Kelvin Simmons, now, I'm going to say something right now that you're going to think I'm crazy, but maybe you won't. Troy, at one time, I want to say that's where Kelvin Simmons came from, was Etowah. Is that right?
I think so. I remember the name, but I don't recall seeing.
Well, you know, the great Kelvin Simmons was Troy got him, but he signed originally with Alabama out of high school, and he went to East Boga, I want to say, junior college, and Etowah, yeah, Etowah.
Where is
East Boga? That's outside of Addiston. That's where the racetrack is, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That was me not thinking right. But now the biggest city would be Oxford. How far are you from Oxford?
I was there yesterday, 50 miles from my front door.
All right, and then also where Elvis was born, how far are you from there?
I said Tupelo. I'm about 15 minutes from there.
15 minutes from Tupelo. That's a pretty good-sized town, isn't it?
Yeah, Tupelo is growing like crazy.
Oh, it's about, that census now coming out. Tupelo will probably be close to 50,000.
Yeah. You know why it's growing like that? They finally four-laned the road between Birmingham and Memphis. Isn't that right?
It's interstate, I-22.
But don't you think that's the key to their growth, pretty much?
It's really from Atlanta to Memphis. It's a direct corridor now.
Now, if you wanted to drive to Tuscaloosa, what would it be, about 2 hours or what?
I'm going today. Hour and 58 minutes, Mike, from here.
What are you doing going over there today?
I got some clients over there that want to buy a few products, so I'm going to drive over there as soon as I finish the show.
I got you.
Want to go see Coach Saban?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I guarantee you, Saban knows who Maxx Hall is, no question about it. Max, you made quite a name for yourself in talk radio. And how did you get in talk radio? Of course, you ended up going over to Atlanta and you spearheaded the talk radio industry over there.
Well, Mike, I tell you, I just come off the field at Ole Miss, and I was putting together. I published the first junior college annual for prospects, and I was working at junior colleges for a couple other schools. And I went to Atlanta to get my book published, and I ran into a guy that was just getting ready to crank up. Well, the Dickey family just bought 680 out from Ken Turner.
Yeah, all right, that 680 is about like 740 in Montgomery. You know, it's a well-known station.
It was a 50,000 watt AM clear channel station though. We broadcast from Chattanooga to Columbus. You know, it was wide open on the city.
Yeah, that's a lot bigger than 740 that you lose literally driving out of Montgomery, Doug.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
See,
but at one time, the Big Bam though was big though. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah, but that's the FM though.
Yeah, I got you.
See, this was the AM.
Yeah.
I had a guy that that took up that helped me publish the book, and the 680 was looking for talent. They took me there one day and said, "Hey, let's talk." And I just started off. Larry Munson was in there. There's a half a dozen.
Was Larry Munson the legendary Georgia announcer?
Yeah, he was the voice of the Bulldogs for years.
What kind of guy was Larry Munson, Max?
He was just down there, and he was a good.
But now he was he was big time. He didn't want anybody messing with his radio though, did he?
Well, he'd been around. He called the Braves games. He was on it. He actually started in Nashville with Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And then he had a fishing show on television. He's been around a while.
Yeah.
But quick story about him. He was working at that time. He was working for he was working for the WSB, the radio station. They were paying him $1,000 a week to do the radio. Well,
That was pretty good money for radio back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, but let me just tell you, Mike, he got an agent, and he went from 1,000 to 10,000 a week.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. And they'd send a helicopter to him on off days. They sent a limo to get him to pick him.
Oh, man, he became a celebrity, didn't he?
Oh, he was a big time.
And his the one-liner that you would call him when you mention his name would be what? What did he say more than anything that made you think he was unusual? Hunker down dogs.
Hunker down dogs.
Hunker down dogs.
He did. Well,
he was also the play-by-play guy for the Falcons too, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was. Yeah, this. I think his greatest call though was the Buck Baloo pass to put them to win the national championship in 1980. It was.
Was that the one to lead this
great job. And then, of course, I think another one in this market remembers when Herschel was a freshman, he ran over Bates, the linebacker at Tennessee, and scored the winning touchdown. That was so many, really, really highlights his career. He'd written a couple of books, and of course, they hired him as a draw. Because, we stayed on the road. We did remotes almost every, at least 1 or 2 a week. It built that radio station up to.
What year was that, Max? Was it the 70s or
93.
what?
That was 93.
93. So that was
That's what ended up being Cumulus Radio Network, which had 550 stations across the country. So it was quite a trip for us.
Now this is. If you're talking about sports radio, I don't think it got any bigger, any better than that. It was called The Fan. Is that right?
That's right. 680 The Fan.
680 The Fan. Of course, it was an AM station, and back then it covered the entire Atlanta area, and you could pick it up in Troy. You could pick it up in Troy. I've listened to you for Troy, and I'd call over and I said, Max, this is Mike Amos from Troy. And he said, who? I said, Mike Amos from Troy. You remember me, Max? You recruited me, Max. You remember me, can't you? I'm just joking because you weren't that way. You were very cordial, and you always said nice things about Troy.
Atlanta would change forever in 3 years when the '96 Olympics came. I mean, it became a pretty big city to one of the biggest cities in the country. I mean, it was just unbelievable, the growth after that.
What it was, that was 96, and we were doing our show from downtown, and I was on the MARTA that morning going down when Jewel accused of dropping the bomb downtown and blew us up. They turned us back, wouldn't let us go down. They roped off everything, wouldn't let us go. So, but the Olympics and we had a couple of Super Bowls, had a World Series with the Braves. It was a good run. I was there 11 years.
And I was there as a college student working when the Braves moved back over there. You remember the All-Star game? I was there for that All-Star game.
Oh, yeah.
And
I was in Centennial Park when the bomb went off.
Now Mike came close to getting blown. You came close to getting blown up. I mean, you actually.
I was actually listening to that band, at the time. So I mean, I probably was there when Rudolph probably dropped off the backpack. I just don't know.
Yeah, he was wanting to kill a bunch of folks, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
And
of course, Clint Eastwood just did a movie about it.
Called Jewel.
With Richard Jewell.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's coming out soon, isn't it?
It's already
released.
I'd like to see it. Anything with Clint Eastwood. Max, let me tell you, and I'm ashamed of this. I had my son, Michael, worked over there and could get me in any place I wanted to go. But walking across that bridge to Fulton County Stadium, I reckon that was the name of it back then. Hey, I've never been so sick in my life. I mean, you weren't moving at all. It was the longest line of people wanting to get somewhere. And my wife and I turned around and looked at each other, and she said, and I said, we're going to be here 3 or 4 more hours trying to get into this place. You remember that?
You
You remember how crowded it was, and you were going across the bridge from, huh?
You're trying to go to the Olympic Stadium?
Yeah, we started at Underground Atlanta, and we're trying to go to the Olympic Stadium, and the lines were so long that we just finally said, let's go to Troy.
Yeah.
It was that bad. It was that bad.
I went to opening ceremonies. I went to Olympic boxing. I saw the Dream Team played, I think, twice. I mean, we had tickets to everything. It was crazy.
And Max, when we talk about that stadium being bought by Georgia State, that was one of the smartest things I've ever heard, because it's an historic monument there in that stadium. Well, what we're talking about, the Olympic Stadium, excuse me if I'm wrong here.
It became Turner Field.
It became Turner Field. It became Turner Field. But then after that, when they finally closed it down, Georgia State bought the stadium, and that was a smart move, don't you think?
Well, I'm going to tell you, the whole city of Atlanta might benefit from the Olympics. Because Georgia Tech bought a bunch of the buildings and turned them into dorms.
Oh, yeah.
There was just so much building going on. And I think I think Michael just said it, I think it really put Atlanta internationally on the map.
Yeah.
From where they put it. And the guy that put all that together was, his last name was Payne.
Yeah, I remember about, yeah.
It was Billy Payne.
He ended up being the chairman of the board at Augusta National.
Yeah, that's right. He was the front guy with the Masters. I want to say he actually came from California or something, didn't he? Or did he?
Nah, Billy Payne grew up in Georgia.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He grew up. Yeah, he's an attorney in Atlanta before he got hooked up with that bunch.
Yeah, but of course, Atlanta became a real sports town. I worked over there in the '60s. I'd say '60s, early '70s. As a college student, and boy, it was a fun place. Sports was so big, and they had the broadcast crew was what was his name, Mike? Here's the boy. He would say, "Here's the voice of the biggest. Here's the guy with the biggest smile in Atlanta, Rico Cardi." You know who that was? What announcer was that?
I don't know. Was it Ernie Johnson?
No. Before Ernie Johnson. What was his name?
I don't know, man. I wasn't born in
long time. He was the voice of the Braves for a long time.
I mean, the only Braves voices I knew were Ernie Johnson and Skip Carey.
No, this guy was this guy was when they first got there. Max, you can.
I can't remember now, but Ted Turner did so much also, Mike. He brought all the franchises there to start with, except the Falcons. Franklin Smith had the Falcons, but he brought the basketball and baseball. Eventually brought hockey. He did a really good job. Because our first studio was in the CNN building, and we were on the first floor, right, looking out into the lobby. And of course, WCNN was in the second floor, and of course, all the other WWE and all the professional wrestling, all those guys had offices upstairs above us. But James Fonda walked by every day, going up. We had a workout facility next door to us.
In fact, the man himself, you actually knew him. He knew you by your first name, didn't he?
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you another one.
You're talking about Ted Turner. I mean, you actually knew Ted Turner, didn't you?
Yeah, Truett Cathy was one of our biggest fans. You know who Truett Cathy is?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, he's the owner of Chick-fil-A, yeah. Uh-huh.
That's right. Yeah, he was right across the lobby from us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it was a good time.
And the guy with the owner of the Falcons was there for a long time. What was his name?
Rankin Smith.
But this guy owns the hardware stores. What's the name?
That's Blank.
Yeah, Blank. Yeah, Blank was probably back then. Yeah.
The Falcons for $500 million, $550 million. Everybody thought that was outrageous. This was like $1 billion now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, probably more than that. Yeah. Dallas Cowboys are worth what, $3 or $4 billion now, something like that. Oh man, unreal. We're talking to Max Howell, one of the leading sports analysts in the country. Now, you don't get into pro sports much, do you?
Not a whole lot, Mike. What I do is when I was really active, I followed the kids coached or the teams that I've been involved with. But you know, and I watch Super Bowl this weekend. But I used to know all the lines and the players. I don't read much of that anymore.
Yeah. Let me interrupt you.
The only guy I can come up with is Milo Hamilton.
That was exactly. I'm writing it down right now, Mike. I was just fixing to say that. It just came through my computer, or what's left of my computer. Milo Hamilton. He was also the voice when Henry Aaron hit the long home run to break Babe Ruth's record. Let me tell you something. If Mickey Mantle would have played in Fulton County Stadium, he would have hit 900 home runs. that left field. Did you ever go to many baseball games in the old stadium there? Max, did you ever go to any baseball games when you were there much?
We did our shows from there a lot of times.
You remember how short that left field was? Well, I mean, of course, Yankee Stadium had a short right field, but you had to pull it. But, I mean, if you got it up in the air at Fulton County Stadium, it was out of there.
See, we did the first interview with Chipper Jones when he came out. He came out of high school.
Yeah.
And he actually had a scholarship at the University of Florida to play baseball. He was drafted the first round, and of course the rest of his history.
He also had a football scholarship to play for Bog Bowden at Florida State.
I did not know that. I bet he'd been a good one too, wouldn't he?
He was a great wide receiver.
Michael, why he did that? His dad played for Bobby Bowden.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, his dad was a huge Florida State fan. He and I used to have those conversations. How did that Chipper become a Florida fan?
Yeah.
And, of course, I guess so recently ESPN is trying to get him to come back to call ball games now.
Yeah, oh, he'd be a great one. I remember when he first got there, he was one of the heroes that was a real hero. I mean, he backed up everything he said, I mean, he was just a great role model for those kids. Think of how many millions of kids, or especially the thousands and thousands of kids that grew up in Atlanta that could idolize a guy like that. See, I idolized Mickey Mantle, growing up. You probably had an idol. Who was yours?
Well, you know what, Mike? That is right from an athletic standpoint. But Chipper has some personal problems too, now.
Did he? Well, I know y'all all went out and partied, and the only way you were able to do what you did, you were single during those days, wasn't you?
I was in between.
but man, you talk about getting in trouble. I mean, Mike, the girls out populated the men in Atlanta back then. What, about 5-1 or something like that, or what?
Yeah, it was. Because it was it was already a Fortune 500 city where Fortune 500 companies would bring in. They bring 2 year, hire people for 2 years, train them, then put them back out in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Atlanta was noted for that.
Oh yeah.
In our audience on a regular basis.
Well, let me ask you a personal question. Have you ever been to the Domino Club?
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Johnny's Hideaway?
Oh, God. I had a chair at Johnny's Hideaway.
Have you ever been to Studebacker's?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been to Harrison's?
Yeah, listen, Mike, it wasn't any of those places. Remember, a lot of those guys, if our people would do a show there,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. I knew that. I mean, what I'm saying, that's your job, you would be on the air, but then you would have to go out and do that almost every night, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at least Thursday and Fridays every week.
Yeah.
You would probably do remotes, and then you probably do remotes on the air, and then stay after the remote for another 3 or 4 hours, wouldn't you?
Let me tell you something. Most of us go to the close.
Yeah.
We stay.
But Mike,
2 o'clock.
I said, Atlanta had cabs everywhere. They could just jump in a cab and go home if they needed to.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true.
But it'd be hard to do. You know what, Max? It'd be hard to do that today, wouldn't it? To move around Atlanta like that, it'd be hard to do today, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. It is. Atlanta's going to see. Atlanta was only about 4 million people then. It's over 6 now.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me tell you this. That metro area may be bigger than that now. I can remember. You remember Fridays? Was there in Buckhead. You remember Fridays? What a big place that was when it first opened and so forth?
See, that's where our studios are.
Yeah.
Our studio was in Buckhead.
Uh-huh.
It's where we, it's where we operate out of. So.
And then, of course, the former Georgia quarterback became a real celebrity, didn't he? What was his name? Bug Ballou. And Bug Ballou, God, I bet you the girls were all over him, weren't they?
Well, he didn't get married. He's about 35.
He did. I know it.
He's got 3 grown boys, and they're going to be great athletes too. They're in high school.
When I worked over there, Max, the places to go to party were not necessarily the places of business. They would go to apartment complexes. Every weekend, all the apartment complexes where all these young girls and young guys live together, they'd have a big party. You couldn't even get within a mile of the place to find a parking place. I mean, it was just unreal how many people would be there.
That was one of the marketing plans, for a lot of those condo complexes, because that was a talent level they drew to come in and live there, and that was one of the add-ons.
It was one of the great places to live in America, and then of course, the airport, got bigger and bigger and all that. And
yep.
Atlanta, as far as a big city, I don't know. Back in those days, you couldn't have beat it. I don't know. Would you say it was a good place to live now or not?
Well, I go through there. I went back to the 25th reunion of 680 fan last November, and that's about. I don't stop in Atlanta much anymore. I go through there quite often, but it's just I either get 285 and go around. I rarely ever go right through the middle of 20.
Did you ever get to know our favorite writer, who, of course, was
Grizzard?
Grizzard, yeah. Did you ever get to know him?
Oh yeah. He was a huge Georgia fan. He even before I got there, in fact, when I was still on the field at Ole Miss, when Georgia would come and play, well, they came. They came twice to Athens. And he rode the bus with the University of Georgia football team. And he'd come to Oxford, he'd shake his head, and he'd go and say, I know we're going to get beat today. It's the only place in America that all the women are 10 and above. And you can drink whiskey in the stands.
That's right. Oh, his writing. And I tell you something he wrote one time. He wrote about what he thought was the best barbecue places in the country. And you'll agree with him. He said Wilson's Barbecue in Troy was one of them in this book. It said that. And he said the reason he went there, though, it wasn't for the barbecue, it was for the pretty ladies. And those ladies, if you remember, all of them that worked with him were 70 or 80-year-old. I shouldn't say that, but I'm 70. But were 80-year-old women waiting on you. But see, he just said, but better than the barbecue was the pretty ladies that served you. And he said they had light bread there that must have come right out of the oven, because you could grab a piece of light bread and put it in your hand, and it looked like it would grow like a marble.
That's true.
So where was the actual location of Wilson's like today? Where would that have been?
Right where that Parks place is, pretty much right where there's a Parks place there.
It was off the highway. You had to go.
Yeah.
It was like a little street.
That's right, and a bunch of people lived in trailers behind there,
They do anything other than barbecue? They have steaks and stuff too?
No, no, I didn't know of it. They had hamburgers, I'm sure.
There's just barbecue and sides?
Well, let me tell you what they had. Their camp stew was good. They had the real camp stew, and like I said, the fresh light bread, and then they'd have their to my knowledge, they didn't have ribs. They would chop up their barbecue real fine. And then also they take what you call the outside meat or the burnt meat, and they chop it up. A lot of people like that. They like their barbecue. Your mama liked it with outside meat. And then, of course, you could have it chopped or finely chopped. And it was really... But, they would have the slaw and the camp stew and all that. Of course, they had the plates and the sandwiches. It was wonderful. A lot of people talk about it even today.
Yeah, they still do, Mike. I mean, that's... I run into them, I guess every time I come to Troy, just about, I see one of them.
Oh, yeah. In fact, Jerry, Marietta Wilson And of course, she married Jerry, Mike, and Jerry Williams. They lived on Crow Hill for a long while, and Jerry was from Ozark, and Jerry, when he married Marietta, he didn't realize this, that he was going to have to get up at 5 o'clock every morning to go light the fire.
That's right.
At the barbecue house, and we still laugh about it. That she married him because he knew how to light the fire.
I remember that.
And, but you're right.
About it.
Yeah, that was a great place to eat, no question. But back then, you didn't have a lot. You had Charlie Norman put in the Red Wave, and he put in the Dairy Delight. He owned both of those. You remember that?
I do remember the Dairy Delight.
And ladies and gentlemen, the guy that everybody remembered more than anybody was W.C. Watkins. You remember him?
Oh, gosh, yes, I do.
The great, and I hope his family and some of his friends are listening right now. W.C. Watkins was one of the ones that ran, I think W.C. ran the Dairy Delight, and then they later on put in the Red Wave, and he worked for Charlie Norman for many years, but he became very close friends with all the football players. In fact, I don't know for sure, but Tommy Moffitt, Moffitt was married, and his best friend was W.C., and I don't know if he lived with him or not, but he stayed over there all the time.
Yeah, I remember W.C. That's the first time I've heard nothing like it. 20 or 30 years.
Right, of course, he's not with us anymore, but he was such a wonderful guy, and all of them, when they'd come back, they'd all go to W.C.'s house.
That's true.
Of course, his daughter works for Sisters, out at Sisters, and
Is that right?
Yeah, oh yeah. But everybody remembers W.C. He was good to all of them. I'm sure a lot of those players left a lot of money on the books, and of course, Charlie Noneman, was a good friend of ours, and he's no longer with us, but he and Nick Severe were best buddies, and Charlie made a good living in the real estate business, and but more than anything with those two drive-in restaurants, the Red Wave and the Dairy Delight.
That was when hardly anything was out there on the highway.
That's right. That's right. In fact, that's right. They had just opened it, not too early than that.
Right.
When I was in high school, I remember when I was in high school, they had a place at one of the ends called the Suds and Burger, and that was another hangout. With the Suds and Burger, and you're gonna get the kick out of this, Max. But back then, when I was growing up, you pull into a place like the Suds and Burger or the Dairy Delight or the Red Wave, you'd see everybody with a hood up in their car. Back then, everybody wanted to see what they had under the hood. I have bought 4 or 5 cars within the last year, it seems like, and I've never, ever looked under the hood. Have you?
Well, yeah.
Have you? I mean, I would know, but really, I buy all these cars and I never, ever look under the hood.
Mike, you can't even find the oil stick now.
Michael don't know where the oil stick is.
I actually do know how to do that.
Yeah, but back then, the thing that everybody was interested in, whether or not you had 4 deuces or 4-barrel carburetor or 6 deuces or whatever it was, they wanted to know that because they loved the drag race. You remember that? Do you remember that growing up?
Yeah, I don't know if we ever mentioned this, but Corey Dennis, of course, he grew up in Troy. That's Steve Dennis, the athletic director's son. He was at Ohio State as a analyst this past year, and he had gotten the quarterback job at Colorado State to go coach Steve Dazio. But now, this is Urban Meyer's son-in-law. He's actually going to be the quarterback coach at Ohio State. So from Charleston High School to now be the quarterback coach at the Ohio State.
Golly!
So great for Corey Dennis. Pretty amazing. Of course, it helps that Urban Meyer's his father-in-law, but he's a great kid. And
Mike, he grew up right around the corner from us, and it's many times he's mowed my grass and whatever.
I mean, he's a kid that played college ball at Georgia Tech, and then he met Urban Meyer's daughter, who was on the volleyball team there, and they got married. And their first child they had a little boy, and he named the kid Troy.
Oh, I know. Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And he, like you said, he's a fine guy. But hey, Maxx, the most important word in athletics is what? Who you know. Who you know in coaching and athletics, it is the biggest word in that vocabulary. Wouldn't you say? Who you know.
I'd say so. That gets you a lot of places.
It gets you in most places. It's who you know. Don't you agree?
But you know what? That doesn't guarantee you the job, though. That gets you in the front door.
Yeah.
Then what you can do after that will guarantee or get you to keep the job.
Well, of course, congratulations to him. He's a great guy, and no tellings. I would think the quarterback coach at Ohio State make close to $1 million. Wouldn't you think?
I mean, I'm sure he'll make close to 500,000, 600,000.
Yeah, he's in the upper six figures.
I mean, the crazy thing is he couldn't be more than 27 years old.
Oh yeah, that's right. No question about it. No question about it. Exactly. And
well, if they keep doing the way they do it, he'll propel that to a coordinator's job and on to a head coaching job.
Yeah, exactly right.
An article that Deion Sanders, you know him very well, Maxx, at Florida State.
Yep.
Deion Sanders is coming out and pretty much already said that he's definitely going to be a head coach in college football next year. I don't know if he's interviewed for any jobs yet, but he acts like he wants to be a college head coach. What would you think about Deion being a college head coach?
I think most of those basic requirements, you got to have a college degree, and I don't know that Deion ever finished his degree.
Yeah, I've heard that.
You can probably get that online though pretty quick.
Well, that'd be the only way. That Florida State may just award him one. Look, those guys, the success of those guys at that level, it depends on who they hire as assistants.
Let me ask you a couple of questions here, Maxx. You coached Emmitt Smith. You coached Deion Sanders. Who are some other great players that you coached?
At one time, let's see, of course, Leroy Butler was on the other side.
Yeah, he was a great one. What kind of people were these guys? They became prima donnas because they were so great. And I mean, we're talking about.
They did, though, but Mike, the reason, remember the era they came through. They didn't have all the, anti-social we deal with today. They were role models, literally. I mean, in fact, Deion and Leroy and that bunch, we use those guys as an anti-drug and anti-alcohol. They traveled through the high schools. They both had traveling basketball teams. They did in the off season. They were the public relations arm for our athletic department. I've told this story many times. Deion Sanders was the first guy at practice every day, the last guy to leave, sit on the front row of every meeting. I have to sit there with him, and never went to sleep. He was there for a purpose, and he knew what he wanted. And a lot of those kids we recruited fit that same category. You got to remember, at that time, we were where Alabama is now. We were at the number one recruiting.
That's right, yeah.
I was there for the first 3 or 4 years. We were in the top 5 in the country. Coach Bowden kept them there for 14 years. So, we had our pick in the good. So we literally stayed away from the problem children because we could afford to do that all over the country recruiting.
Of course, when Emmitt was signed by Florida, now was anybody else in the picture? Did Alabama was they in the picture?
Auburn. Florida was not his first choice, Mike. Auburn was his first choice.
He wanted to go to Auburn, and that was back when they had all those great running backs, wasn't it?
Yeah, he wanted to follow Bo Jackson. You know who stayed in the office almost every day was Larry Blakeney and Pat Dye.
Really?
Larry was at Auburn.
Yeah.
He was recruiting.
Yeah.
So I just, and of course the other side of that is Florida took 7 kids off that high school football team.
Yeah.
Was
Charlie Pell the coach? Who was the head coach in Florida?
Let's see, that had to have been
Galen Hall.
Galen Hall?
Galen Hall, yeah. It was before
Wait a minute. Now, Galen Hall was an assistant there, Mike, and then later on became a head coach there.
He was the head coach when Emmett was there. I remember. I saw Emmett when he ran up and down the field on Alabama his freshman year.
Well, I'm talking about, we saw that game. You're right. When he first came out.
Kerwin Bell was the quarterback.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And
well, of course, you know why Galen Hall lost his job, because the university put a clamp on the assistant coaches' pay raises, and his assistants started leaving, so he went out and raised money and gave it to the assistant coaches. The university fired him.
Yeah.
That was when they hired Steve Spurrier after that.
Yeah, that's pretty good hire. The Spurrier didn't coach Emmett, though, did he?
Well, no.
Yeah.
Emmett was there 86, 87, 88.
Yeah.
Then he went to the NFL.
Boy, now talking about great people. Now he was a outstanding person, wasn't
He still is. Yeah. He was a class act from day one.
Yeah.
But we used to see Emmett and Troy all the time. He dated one of the sports medicine trainers.
That's right. He sure did.
Well, Mikey, I told you the story the night that Troy sent to school.
258. The 258.
I was sitting there in the stands with Emmett that night.
God, that was something, wasn't it? We were there. I want to say it was snowing outside, wasn't it, Mike? Wasn't it snowing?
I think it snowed that morning, yeah.
It snowed that morning, yeah.
That was on a Sunday.
That was one of the most unbelievable times I've ever remembered in athletics. That was unreal.
Of course, Sartain Hall is all rubble now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maxx, out of all...
the new student center, Maxx, the new fitness center they built. Rec center.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy going through that when you come, Maxx. Boy, they've got a fabulous rec center now.
I'll be down there in, about 3 weeks?
That's right, no question about it. We've got the Archer group coming in on Valentine's, the 14th and 15th, and it should be a lot of fun. Maxx, out of all, of course, we've still got another recruiting, that comes up next week, doesn't it? The 4th?
Yeah, it's the first Wednesday. Yeah, first.
So next week, now, are there still some players out there to get?
Big name players, yeah.
Who are some of them? Do you know?
Well, I mean, there's Auburn and Alabama are still going to try to get some 2 or 3 more guys, but Troy's done, but they're recruiting. They've already said they're done.
Yeah, of course, I keep up with them over here. Mississippi State's finished up. Mike Leach didn't have to sign for 2 or 3. Of course, the other side of that is Lane Kiffin had to sign about 10, and they picked up a couple 4 stars. And I think they'll move up. They're in the maybe 20s, high 20s really. I think they were 32 or 33 when he took it over ranking. He'll end up 26 or 7, somewhere like that. And I think Mississippi State will be much better as far as the quality of what the analysts think they got. Because the end result is you get the players that can play your system and fit what you want to do, and then then coach them up.
And this is hard to do, but I can't see for some reason I can't see LSU being near the team that they were this year.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, man. And I think they're,
mainly because they don't have this quarterback. The quarterback made a lot of difference, didn't it?
Well, he made a huge amount of difference. But the guy that coached him up is down with the Carolina Panthers, Joe Brady. That was where all that kids.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to say there. The Steve had it the year before. They didn't do what they did last year. So, they just hired a new defensive coordinator, ready to go to Baylor, and they bring in Boffolini back to LSU.
Yeah.
With Les Miles. So, but the whole thing is the quality of players that return.
Yeah.
They got to work. They got a lot of work to do. And Ogeron knows that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you guys, because we're closer to it, and Ole Miss has become LSU's biggest rival, basically. And Ogeron is milking that championship forever. They got a huge raise. I think he went to $7 million
a year. Yeah.
$7 million a year. Whoa! And he would.
He's making
and after the Troy game, they wanted to fire him.
You know what he said, Mike? He said that game turned that program around.
Oh yeah. It was good exposure for Troy. Yeah.
We read an article about it, Dad, about how that changed his philosophy at LSU.
Yeah. But, again, I just don't see in the West. I see Alabama, I see Auburn, and then I see LSU. I've got them.
Well, I think that's fine. I think the unknown there is still Texas A&M.
Yeah, and then the question mark is, can Jimbo? Now, Jimbo, when he was at Florida State, he was considered the best recruiter in college football. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, his classes are in the top 5.
Yeah.
The last couple of years.
Yeah.
They just hadn't transposed it over the wins and losses on the field yet.
It's still got to be a Superman quarterback. The Superman quarterback. And unless this kid from California can be a Superman quarterback at Alabama, I don't think Auburn's got a Superman quarterback. I think they got a winner. So, and then comes LSU. I think LSU's going to have to pick somebody up through this, what do you call it?
Grad transfer.
I think they got to get a transfer.
Miles Brennan was a superstar in high school on the coast. He was a backup guy. Didn't get a chance to play much because, Burris was breaking all the records. But I think he's going to be adequate. But I agree with you. I think they're going to have to, find it. There's going to be one or two of them out there. But nobody ever heard of Joe Burris either. He got to LSU.
Yeah, you're right. No question about it.
Jimbo Fisher showed a lot of patience, a lot of confidence in that Kellen Mond. I still don't know.
I know it.
Kellen Mond.
He's going to be back, Michael. He's coming back for his senior year.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. I mean, he's very average. I mean, Mond. I think you're going to go 8-4 every year. Maybe get to 10 wins, maybe.
Now, I think there's fixing to be a new sheriff in town in the East, and it might be the University of Tennessee. Oh, Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee.
I think you picked the wrong team. I think it's Florida.
Hey, you're right, but look out for those Tennessee Vols. But again, they don't have a quarterback, so I wouldn't put them there. Florida is this. You got Florida and you got Georgia. In Georgia, Fromm is gone. Georgia's quarterback is the guy from Wake Forest. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Swift's not there either.
Yeah, they've changed their whole offensive staff on top of that.
And they brought in Todd Monken. Todd Monken, he used to be the head coach of Southern Miss when Chip Lindsey was his offense coordinator. He's their new offense coordinator.
Okay.
Right.
So they're going to run the spread.
Yeah, they will. We'll see. We'll see how well they do. Florida's going to be in contention, and Tennessee's going to be. I think Tennessee will probably be third.
I'm going to say this right now. Whoever's got the best quarterback's going to win the SEC next year. Who's got the best quarterback? Is this guy who everybody claims now that the young kid that Alabama got from California is the best quarterback in the country? What do you think?
Well, we don't know at that level, Mike. He might have been the best high school player.
Yeah, I know it. I know that. Yeah.
That's another step when you move to the SEC, though.
Yeah.
It's just we've seen a ton of through the years that came out as the number one player, and then all of a sudden you never heard of them again.
You know who is getting? Yeah. Okay. No. Really, isn't that amazing though? I can't figure it next year. It's going to be tough.
Well,
Don't you agree?
Trask is coming back in Florida, and he really had a great year after Franks got hurt. I think Florida's going to be really good. Mullen, I think is a guy that can win a national championship in Florida.
Can they run the football? They're going to be balanced now.
I think Georgia's going to be good, but I think they're going to definitely drop off a little bit.
Yeah.
But Kirby's recruited so well. I mean, the interesting team for me is definitely A&M. Like Max said, will they jump ahead of LSU this year? I think that's a possibility.
So the question mark there, the front runners would be LSU, Alabama, and Auburn in the West, and then be Florida, Georgia, and maybe Tennessee in the East.
That
sound right?
I mean, Auburn's schedule was so tough last year. I mean, it's still amazing they went 9-3 in the regular season. Of course, they lost the bowl. Alabama's got to play Georgia, I think, the second game of the season.
Second ball game, yeah.
In Tuscaloosa, so that's going to be a huge game, whoever wins that one. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to come down to Alabama coming out of the West and probably Florida in the East is what I'm going to predict early.
That's the way I think it that way, same way, Michael, right now.
Yeah. And we were there for that first conference championship when Alabama defensive back intercepted the pass, ran it back for a touchdown to beat Florida. You remember that, Mike?
Yeah, Antonio
Langham, you're right.
That's the last time there was real excitement in Legion Field.
That's right. You remember we tried to get in that tent, Mike? You know, I've never had a problem getting in there. It was so cold that day and dreary, and they had this giant tent, Max. And I tell you, you had to pay a bunch to get in that thing.
Well, I was on the road somewhere. I remember listening to the first couple of 3 games were in Birmingham.
Yeah.
For the SEC. It was just always Alabama and Florida. Things I recall.
Yeah, exactly.
Games each year. So it was a good crowd.
Yeah.
The weather was bad. The weather was bad half the time. I think that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, the worst thing there happened to Alabama was when Florida had Werfel at quarterback. Danny Werfel beat Alabama every time.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
And then, though, Alabama had a backup quarterback that went to the Gainesville and beat them, didn't he?
Well, I mean, that was a long time ago.
No. You remember him, though?
That was Sean Alexander.
No. Well, the quarterback was, what was his name? Andrew Zhao. You remember when Andrew Zhao went and beat him?
He was a starting quarterback there.
Yeah, I know that, yeah. But, and then, of course, Alexander was a great college running back.
He was a great pro running back. He was MVP of the league.
Yeah. But you remember him going as a pure freshman.
He got a contract, too, and then he never was the same.
Yeah. You know something, the game I remember was his freshman year against LSU in Baton Rouge. You remember that? He came close to 300 yards, didn't he?
290 yards, and he was like the third-string running back, yeah.
And all you had to do to look at him, Max, and tell me, out of all the great, this is going to be funny because I mentioned this, but out of all the great running backs in America, who had the biggest thighs that you've ever seen? Tell me, Max, who had the biggest thighs? He was a great running back and had huge thighs. Who? I'll tell you right there, he played in Texas. Earl Campbell.
Yeah.
But the guy with the next biggest thighs was Alexander. You remember, Michael, how big his thighs were?
Boy, Walter Payton had some pretty big thighs.
Yeah, but, all the real great running backs, I don't know about the great one for the Detroit Lions at Oklahoma State. A lot of people think he's a great one, but they had huge thighs. They say you couldn't even reach around. They said you could hardly reach around him. The Texas running back's thighs, he was so big.
Well, that was kept their balance, obviously, Mike. That lower extremity is, that was part of the weight development programs in those days. They did a lot of squats.
Yeah, that was right.
And they thought, getting the thighs bigger and the calves below that, it would save their knees. But what it did, it took away from saving it because the muscle was so strong, the knee would be the first thing it came.
You remember back when 400 pounds was a measuring stick, especially for a lineman. Did you bench 400 pounds? You don't even hear anybody talk about that anymore, do you?
No, it's all about cross training, and you got to put your cardio in there now with a cardiovascular keeps the stretching exercises keep that big bulk down.
That's why Alabama believes in jumping rope. You think about it, it's great for agility, it's great for what you just talked about, cardio. But it's hard for me to see a 300-pounder jumping rope, but they are. They make them jump rope at Alabama.
Well, most of those programs around the country, they all go to clinics, in the off season, all those trainers do, and they pick up, ideas. Whatever they go where the teams are winning, and they're trying to figure out, how did they get there? And it goes down to their diet, to their off-season program, to the bills they do. All of that stuff is kind of an open book to to the trainers and all.
No question about it. Maxx, of course, you're busy, and I know Super Bowl weekend. You got to be cooking something for somebody.
Man, we're going to do the biggest meals, particularly this part of the country, chicken wings, man. So we're going to do them on the grill Sunday afternoon. I got a guy I think he's bringing in 20 or 30 pounds of chicken wings, and we'll marinate those things. What I do with those, I do a marinade with Italian dressing, and I don't put barbecue sauce on them. We have that on the side, and that's we may have one chef on the grill that we'll do barbecue sauce with, but most of them like them dry.
Do they like them hot? Do they like them real hot?
Yeah, and vinegar. They like vinegar and salt. A lot of them. And so we'll probably cook 20, 30 pounds of that, and just have the rest of it will be finger food. Small sandwiches and pickles and radishes and all that stuff.
Now, do y'all have a big screen where you go? Usually, you got a big screen.
Oh yeah. We got the house we're gonna do it in is just down below me here. They got a big screen off there on it's an outdoor TV. Sitting under their porch.
Now,
we have about 15 to 20 people there.
Now, do you live right there on the water? Your place right there on the water?
Yeah, right down the road from us.
Yeah. Okay.
We do. Because the biggest entertainment, Mike, is that we have everybody puts $5 in the pot, and we have a board, and they on everything from a corn toss to how many times.
Sure, yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
They show the popcorn dealer. I mean, it's $1 a pop, man.
Yeah.
And some of those kids, guys walk away from there with $100 or more in their pocket.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, Maxx, we hope you have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, my friend. And again, congratulations.
Thank y'all always. I enjoy being on.
Again, congratulations on being selected to the Troy University Athletic Hall of Fame, and that's going to be coming up on the 25th day of April. And we want a lot of you to call in and buy a seat at a table or buy a table, and we'll talk about that later, but we want to promote that.
Yeah. It'll be a big crowd. I've already got all my tickets. I got about 8 to 10 people coming from up here.
Yeah.
So it's I'm looking forward to it, Mike. I really am.
All right. Thanks so much again, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
That's Maxx Howell calling in from Fulton, Mississippi this morning. Of course, a lot of these people, Mike, they hear that name Maxx Howell up in Birmingham. They said, "How did you get Maxx Howell?" It's who you know, Mike. I knew him when I was a player, and I knew him when I was supporting Troy's national championship team, and the friendships have been a long way, and by being friends with him, he does me this favor to be on the show. Are you still on, Mike? So, ladies and gentlemen, right now, everybody's off the air but me. Want to mention, again, Alabama's got a big basketball game tonight. And we'll be watching that against LSU. LSU coming into the game is ranked number 24 in the country. Some of the teams that surprised me, of course, Baylor doesn't surprise me. They've had a good program for a long time. Gonzaga sure doesn't surprise me from Spokane. Kansas from Lawrence, Kansas. San Diego State, of course, is 21-0. They're still undefeated. They're from San Diego, California, of course. Louisville, always a good program. They're 17-3. They're ranked 5. My old buddy over at Florida State, and of course he's a great coach and been there for a long time. He's got Florida State 17-2. Dayton, and we mentioned the other day that Dayton is who their coach was, and really doing an outstanding job. Duke is 16-3, ranked 8. Seton Hall ranked 9th, and then Villanova ranked 16-3. Tell you something about those teams in the Northeast, like Villanova Seton Hall, and you know, some of those teams, they are really good, and they play each other so much that it's hard to have a real good winning record up there. Of course, you got Rutgers ranked 25th in the country with a 15-5 record. Auburn's still hanging in there at 16 with a 17th and 17-2 record. Michigan State, always watch them around tournament time. They're coach, probably the best coach team out there. They're ranked 14th. Now Kentucky hanging in there. They were those young players. In fact, the reason they have those young players is that the rest of them they leave early. They most of them leave out their freshman year, and that just doesn't seem to be fair. Oregon is ranked 12th, West Virginia 11th, and that'll give you a little bit of an idea of how the top 10 in basketball looks. And again, Auburn leads the Auburn, Kentucky, and well, it's not many of them, and LSU. Auburn, Kentucky, and LSU are the only SEC teams in the top 25. So hopefully, come tournament time, they'll get better and better and better. Of course, give you more information on the Super Bowl. We were talking yesterday on when the game was going to start. Well, it's going to start at 5:30 p.m. I would think that would be Eastern time. I could be wrong here. It doesn't really say whether it's Eastern time or not. Central time would be 5:30, 6:30 Eastern time. Maybe that's it. And it'll be on Fox Television. That's channel 9 on your regular TV set. And then if you want to watch it in HD, you'll have to go up to the, at least I have to go up to the 500 channels. Of course, again, Kansas City comes into the game after beating Tennessee 35-24, and then of course San Francisco just pretty much ran by Green Bay 37-20, and that's how we stand now from Miami Gardens, Florida. It'll be Kansas City against San Francisco. Out of all of the events each year, there's nothing that has more hoopla about, if you want to use an easy word, hoopla about it, than the Super Bowl. There's more people gathering together and tailgating and are going over to other friends' houses to watch the Super Bowl. And I'll tell you this, you give me a big bag of corn chips, and I love Fritos corn chips, the scoops, and a big package of hummus. I love hummus and my cold beverage, and I've got all I need for a wonderful tailgate. But everybody goes in for the tailgating and the visiting and the partying than you'll get from the Super Bowl. They outdo them all, in my opinion, of people gathering together, having a big party, what they call a Super Bowl party. And of course, a good friend of mine in Ozark, Stuart Skinner, has the biggest Super Bowl party of them all in Ozark. And he lives out near the country club, and I think it starts every Super Bowl day at 3 o'clock. And I'm thinking about taking a look at it. They've got raw oysters and all the works at Stuart Skinner's Super Bowl party. Hope you've enjoyed our show today. You can watch it again today at 1:30 right here on TC3, our Channel 2 on your Troy cable dial. Hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.